Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is Shantia here. In today's video, we are going to be doing a review for Married at First Sight, Season 13, Episode 14. So two things. It is raining outside. It has not stopped for the past, 4 hours. And second thing, I am sick, so you might hear that my voice is a little bit croaky. The one time this year that I've been sick, it took me by surprise too. So the reason why I do these reviews is because I am fascinated by the psychology of humans and how we connect. And most importantly, this channel is dedicated to helping women live in a way that feels the most natural to them. So I would appreciate it if you guys support the channel by liking, subscribing, or go ahead and share in the conversation and comment down below. In this episode of Married at First Sight, the couples all had the opportunity to go to the ranch. They got to bond and connect, which I thought was really cute. And then we saw the whole blow up with Zach and Michaela. In fact, it felt kind of drawn out, the whole situation. Reality TV shows focus on wherever the drama is at so that we can, feel something. I don't particularly find it super entertaining when people are self-sabotaging because that's a human being going through stuff. At the same time, it just makes me think about myself and my life and how I've reacted or been in situations and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and get into how the couples have been. Let me get my notes on the right page first. I barely have any notes from them. We are going to start with Rachel and Jose. So Rachel and Jose have both pretty much decided that they want the relationship to work. What I really like about Rachel is that she's speaking up for herself, right? She's calling Jose out more on what she doesn't like. She's getting okay with him being upset. And I love that she pointed that out with the girls in that conversation that they were having, because I think a lot of times we want to paint things in a pretty picture. And especially as women, we want to be a little bit too gentle about things. But we have to be okay with the fact that our person is not always going to like what we have to say, or people in general are not always going to like what we have to say. But we should stand up and we should speak up for the things that matter to us, because that is our way of forming healthy boundaries. And we need that in order to create deeper connections with the people that we are with, so that they know exactly who they are with, how we are showing up in the world. I called Jose out in my previous videos. He hasn't fully taken accountability, but what I like about Jose is he is still being a gentleman and he is still being a supportive, loving husband, even if he might have some issues acknowledging and taking accountability for things he's done. At least he does have some good traits about him. Sometimes you're going to be with people, they have an amazing traits, but then they have deeply flawed traits as well. And it's about how do we handle them. And I think Rachel has handled that with grace. So that's what I give her credit for. However, you do still want to watch that person, watch that relationship, make sure that person is still committing to you in the way that you deserve. That would be my only advice for Rachel. Just make sure he's still committed to you. For the most part, I think they're doing good. They're on the same page, and she's been very upfront. She's brought up anger, the words vindictiveness around him, so that she lets him know, hey, this is not okay. Just like Gil has with Mira. Hey, this is not okay. This is something we both have to work on. I communicating that it bothers me, and you receiving that. Moving on to our next couple, Brent and Ryan. So Brent and Ryan are the opposite. They've had issues just being on the same page, connecting, communicating. We really saw Ryan's lack of courage show up in this episode. We saw Brent's courage show up in this episode. So I give kudos to Brent for confronting Ryan. We saw it right away. As soon as they were in the car having that conversation, how uncomfortable he was. I don't know how Ryan has been in previous relationships, but obviously he's been kind of avoidant, or maybe with people who have been just as passive as he is, which is, concerning, because you can't really function in a relationship unless you know how to communicate properly. I really appreciate Brett for calling him out, bringing things up, and letting him know, hey, mirroring back to him, hey, this is how you react. You get uncomfortable. Your actions don't reflect your words, even though you said they did. She's calling out the hypocrisy or the confusion in his ways, and I love that. And I think Ryan, unlike Johnny, has taken a lot more accountability. I think he's a little bit more self-aware, to the point where he just didn't notice that he was doing it, but he's willing to take accountability for being that agent of change for himself. He definitely acknowledges and takes more responsibility. You can kind of see it in his eyes. He feels the weight of it. Oh, this is This is how I impact. He's more considerate. So I appreciate him for that. I do want to call him out for saying that Ryan is this amazing person. Sorry, Brett is this amazing person, but not doing anything about it. Like, if you really think she's amazing, why aren't you really approaching her? He has no problems dating other women or supposedly falling in love, but he really needs to be honest with himself. And I love that Brett called him out. She said that, just be yourself. That's what she is. She is herself. She's authentic. So my thing towards Brett is she did bring up with the women that when someone doesn't appreciate her authentic self, she pulls away. So I understand what she's saying. She's saying that, okay, well, if this person's not interested, why even try? Which I understand her perspective in that sense. But I would also say, if someone doesn't like who you are, be more unapologetically your authentic self. Be considerate, but also be more authentically, unapologetically, so you can just be very clear, and they can be very clear. You might not like this or how I show up or who I am, doesn't mean I'm going to change. This is just who I am. I feel like when you're more tapped into authentically being who you are, you light up, you're more vibrant, you're more attractive naturally, and you're going to attract that person to you, the right person to you. I think there's just something about Brett where I'm just like, I feel like she can brighten up a little bit more, become more vibrant, and I think she's holding back in that sense, maybe because she's been hurt. I just got the sense that even right at the beginning when they had the marriage, she's been cautious from day one. I want her to just be unapologetic, authentically who she is, like turn up the volume. And with Ryan, I think he's going to take accountability. I hope moving forward that he knows exactly what he needs to work on. Communication is very important in a relationship. It's not something you can just gloss over. That's the thing, that's the folly in his ways that he's really having to see for the first time. Moving on to our next couple, Bal and Johnny. So Bal and Johnny are pretty much, I think we all know that this is not going to work out. Johnny immaturely acknowledged, I think we should not spend as little time with each other as possible, or I'm gonna avoid Bal like she's the plague. Bal very maturely said, I would like for us to move forward or move on or do something. My husband doesn't want it to work. But she also acknowledged, hey, I deserve better. So kudos to Bal, kudos to the women, kudos to Bal for saying, I'm mad, get angry, because that's where you establish your boundaries. I think women sometimes are like, oh, I'm not allowed to be angry. If you get angry, there's a reason why you're angry. This is why we have emotions. There's signals. They let us know whether someone is trustworthy or not. And when we don't listen to that first intuitive glance into how someone behaves or reacts, then we find ourselves in situations that do not serve us. So you want to listen to that. You want to let it guide you. Bal, as Johnny acknowledged, is very adventurous. She's willing to put herself out there. And I think what really triggers Johnny about Bal is that she's happy, like bubbly happy. She's a bright, bubbly personality. She came out with the cheerleading outfit last episode. Like, she's a naturally bubbly person. And I think Johnny just can't sit with that. Him choosing to pull away the intimacy, that was a blessing in disguise. Because guess what? When people can't meet you at your level, they'll delete themselves from your life. You don't have to worry. You don't have to feel bad or weird about it. Whenever people fall out of my life, I just say it's meant to be. It's just meant to be. And when if I don't feel pulled towards people, I feel like it's just meant to be. There's a reason why I'm not pulled towards that person. What my job is to do as a human being is to make sure that I'm doing what I have to do to take care of myself, to be vibrant, to be happy, to feel alive, to feel good, to be making healthy decisions in my life, good decisions in my life that I feel aligned with. That's my job. Everything else will fall on path. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. If someone shows up and I decide, hey, I want to commit to this, if I make that decision, then I'm going to commit to it. But I'm not going to try to force people to stay like Michaela was trying to do to Zach. I'm not going to try to force people to try to stay in my life. Nor am I going to try to forcibly put myself or insert myself into other people's lives. Bal's really, I'm seeing her fire come back, her liveliness come back, and hopefully she'll start to see, hey, this guy was trying to dim my light because he doesn't like that I'm a happy, bubbly person. It bothers him. He can't sit with that. He's not attracted to that. That's why he's not attracted to you. I thought it was really funny when Bal acknowledged, okay, we're on the same page. On the same page to not liking each other and deciding to break up with one another. I think it's kind of hilarious. Bal really displayed a lot of, well, first of all, compassion with Michaela. And yes, it is kind of funny, you know, with the rumors and everything, how everything turned out in the end. But Bal really displayed compassion and self-awareness. I'm so happy to see that, because I want to see people be aware of what's the impact of how other people are affecting them. They're aware of that, but they're also aware of like what they can do for themselves. What was I doing to trigger him? She was questioning that. And she also said, I devalued myself. She doesn't want to repeat what her parents went through or had to go through. She doesn't even want that to be an option. And I love how she said, I always told myself I would never be in this, and here I am in this. I devalued myself. Sometimes we will find ourselves repeating patterns and traumas and bringing it back. However, the beautiful thing is we go through these things to wake up, to be reminded, oh my God, I'm a valuable human being. I deserve good people in my life. I deserve happiness. I deserve fulfillment. I deserve abundance. And I really felt like Bal was saying that in this episode. So kudos to her. Girl, move on. And Johnny he laughed and he acknowledged things bothered me more than, it's more than that. It's more than just things bother me more than I thought. It's also, I have emotional unhealed trauma, inner childhood trauma, repetitive ancestral patterns, parental trauma behaviors that I'm repeating and bringing into my life because I haven't looked at that. Usually the most unconscious people will repeat patterns on level 10 because they're not aware. This is why isolation is important. You need to be alone with yourself to really know yourself, to know your thoughts. Stop being busy in life. Slow down, find an activity that's like creative, reading or something, journaling, writing, where you can just reflect on who you are and actually make change. Not just say you're gonna make the change, but actually create change. So Johnny has that to work on. Hopefully looking back at this season, he'll see that. It might hit him a little bit different if he watches everything. So moving on to our next couple, Mira and Gil. So Mira and Gil are still doing really good. I really have so much appreciation for Gil because I like the way he communicates conflict. We don't have to raise our voice. After him and Mira rode the horses, they were just sitting there and having their conversation together. He brought up the conversation about her complaining, and he brought it in a very he said it in a way that was very constructive. And he ended it on, is it okay that I tell you that, or are you okay with that? Like, are you okay with how I delivered it? And then he said, do you understand where I'm coming from? I'm taking notes on how Gil is communicating because he communicates in a way that is just so easy, so direct, so easy to follow. And what he's doing for Mira and what he's doing for us, the audience, is he makes us think, and he makes her think. He makes her stop and pause and think about her behavior. You know, just like when you're kind of scolding a child, right? Because, you know, he said her complaining is kind of bratty, right? He didn't say it's terrible. He said it's bratty, by the way. When you're scolding a child, when you're telling a child, why are you doing, you want them to be aware. Why did you do that? Do you know why you're being punished? Do you know why you're here? I want you to reflect and think about that. Because that's what matters most. It's not the punishment. It's not the no, don't do that. It's the, do you understand why that's not okay? Because we don't want to repeat these patterns or behaviors. So I feel like Gil is gently walking her through working on that. And I feel like that's the best quality you could have in a spouse, because that's someone who wants to help you to grow and mirror back to you what you can work on and how you can become a better person. To me, that is utmost important, is helping each other to thrive. Why are we together? Is it so we can continue being the same people? No, we're together so we can grow and we can learn. And I love that Mira is so receptive to the feedback, and she fully acknowledges, I can't change overnight, but it is something that I receive. She said, I receive it, and that I'm willing to work on to change. So I think one of the criticisms that I've heard about Gil before is that he doesn't really say anything positive. He uses humor a lot. And he jokes with Mira a lot. And he talks with compassion and respect to her. Like, you can't miss these qualities. It's all over. Like, he demonstrates so many great qualities in how he connects with her. And he most certainly demonstrates through action. So he's like, okay, I have a healthy fear of horses, but my wife likes riding horses, so we're gonna go horse riding. He said, I'm not crazy about the wine and dine, but my wife likes wine and dine, so I'm gonna take her out. He's smart enough to take note, and then he takes action. I'm not crazy about luxury apartments, but my wife wants one, so why not, right? And I love the joke about him talking about, you know, she starts like sleeping all cute, and then she ends up becoming the the Michael Jordan symbol on the shoe by the time she wakes up. So, you know, that's his way of showing his affection and love to her. And what matters most is she receiving it? And she most certainly is. She's happy. She said she's more happy than she expected she would be. It was better than she expected. So people really need to start kind of looking at that. Her reaction to him matters the most, more than our opinion, because we're only seeing a fraction of what's happening on screen. Gil said something I thought that was great. This was in reaction to Michaela and Zach having their disagreement. He said, you need to say what you mean and mean what you say. I feel like Gil says what he means and means what he says. And I think that's important for every person when it comes to communication. You don't want to just shower each other with flowery words, which I think sometimes Rachel and Jose can get caught up in doing. You want to also give each other constructive, which Rachel was doing. You want to hit him with the truth. We don't want to build any resentment towards each other because we don't feel like we can authentically be ourselves, like Brent and Ryan are struggling with. Gil also said when they were playing the game, who's most likely? He said that Michaela was vindictive. Which takes me to my last couple, Michaela and Zach. Apparently, Michaela is a self-aware petty person. I just find that so funny because she took the spices, so she's petty, she's willingly petty, but underneath that pettiness is a lot of pain and trauma. So something my friend said, and I thought this was an incredible comment. They said, poor thing, she wants to do good, she wants to do better, but her body won't let her. That's exactly what it is. She's so smart and intelligent. She knows the idea of doing better, but the trauma is in the body. The trauma is in the body. The trigger is in the body. It's pretty deep rooted to get to the point where you're unconscious, you have no self-control about what you're doing, and you're reacting on a 10. So Michaela and Zach both displayed that they have immaturity. Now Zach said, I was ready for marriage, but it doesn't matter any way he says it. I think we all can acknowledge that he still has some maturing to do. He's so flighty, he's not grounded, and he's not decisive. He doesn't just say, this is it. The reason why him and Michaela keep going back is he doesn't even know how to set down the boundaries like Gil does with Mira. He doesn't know how to bring up a conversation and say, this is not okay, done. It's constantly coming up. And the reason why it's constantly coming up is because his boundaries aren't clear. He hasn't fully decided what he wants. He's been confused. He's easily influenced and he's ungrounded. Now, Zach is aware. He said that we shouldn't even be doing this. I shouldn't be having this conversation with you. And he's right. Like, it is crazy. Like, it is a lot. But at the same time, it is happening. So how can we de-escalate it? And this is kind of where I understand Michaela's point. Now, it's not my responsibility or anyone's responsibility to make someone else, to control someone else's reaction. We're all responsible for how we react in any given situation. I'm responsible for my reactions. You're responsible for your reactions. Yet, at the same time with Michaela, she said he knows I have abandonment issues and he just up and leaves. Though she did tell him to leave, right? And he wants to leave, so that's why he leaves. However, that's where the lack of maturity is. Because if you were considerate, you would try to find a way to de-escalate the situation and maybe say, I'll sleep on the sofa. But eventually, yes, you got to pull away, right, from the relationship because it's not exactly healthy. It's not exactly healthy. With Michaela, she will kind of warp reality to her emotions. She actually kind of reminded me of a character in one of Tyler Perry's movies. you know, where you're like, dang, that girl crazy. But that's the rage. That is the rage. That's the unhealed trauma that needs to be looked at, revealed, and seen by her. And until she can fully acknowledge it, there cannot be any healing that is done. It was interesting watching her trying to make him stay. She tells him to go, but she wants him to stay. Like, what do you want? She's just as indecisive as well, because she's just reacting to her emotions. She says things based off of how she feels in that moment. And we can't let our anger, our emotions drive our life, because we have no control over our life at that point. It's just driving itself. You need to practice self-control. Earlier, Michaela acknowledged, oh, I have some inner work to do. Girl, you have a lot of inner work to do. Again, very intelligent, but there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect in the body to the mind. There's a total disconnect with her. I also agree with Zach's comment about marriage with you is more work than I thought it was going to be. He's like, I knew marriage was going to be a lot of work, but marriage with you is more work. He's right. So what he's acknowledging is that this is unhealthy. This is toxic. I don't like that word, but this is very unhealthy. This is very excessive. So at least he has some barometer. He has a read on kind of what ideally a healthier relationship would look like and feels like. And you have to listen to that. With Zach, I think I forgot to mention this, but because he's ungrounded, he has issues listening to his intuition. He's very smart, and he actually gives really great feedback when he's listening to the other couples, but he doesn't listen to his own intuition. There's a self-doubt within him and a knowing of himself within him that he needs to work on. Zach and Michaela hopefully will acknowledge that they both have a lot to work on. This is why you don't want to jump into any kind of marriage or relation, let alone a relationship, when you know you have so much work to do on yourself. Some people's knee-jerk reaction is to go from connection to connection, to fill a hole within themselves. Some people's knee-jerk reaction is to isolate themselves. Regardless, there is a balance. I think it's important to heal your heart before you open it. You can open I guess you could try to open a heart that's broken. You could, but it's going to be easily wounded, you know, from any kind of trigger or trauma that happens. Both Michaela and Zach mean well, right? They're good people, but they have so many things personally to work on that's causing and bringing a lot of issues into the relationship. Okay, so that is my review of Married at First Sight. The rain is still raining down and coming down, but I hope you guys enjoyed that review. If you are interested in more content from me, I would appreciate it if you like, subscribe, and also comment down below and share with me your opinion, your take back from either this review, the episode, or both. And I would really appreciate it. Tune in for next week for my next review at Married at First Sight. And as you guys have heard before many times by me, this channel is dedicated to helping women live in a way that feels the most natural to them. Thank you. Have a great day or evening. Bye.